You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
Welcome to Women's Media Center Live. I'm Robin Morgan. Well, we have quite a show for you today. My first guest is the woman who became world famous for daring to drive, risking her life and her freedom to do so in, of course, Saudi Arabia. And my other guest is a woman who has opened up the world for little girls aged 5 to 10 in the most delightful and informative and empowering way. But before we get to any of that, we need to go, you know where, inside the headlines. Why not? Let's start with some good news for a change. 81% of teenagers are using protection in their first act of having sex. Stat News reports that from 2011 to 2015, 81% of American teenage women used contraception that first time. This is not surprisingly due to sex education and to Planned Parenthood clinics, both of which are under attack right now. 2 years after the Supreme Court decision requiring states to recognize marriage equality nationwide, support for legal same-sex marriage is at its highest point in over 20 years of Pew Research Center polling on that issue. A margin of nearly 2 to 1, 62% for to 32% against. But the new Supreme Court, about which more in a moment, agreed to hear the appeal from a baker who invoked the First Amendment in refusing to make a cake for a gay couple's wedding. Women with metastatic breast cancer are living longer. The analysis in Cancer Epidemiology, Biomarkers, and Prevention found that from 1992 to 94, the 5-year survival rate for diagnosed women under 49 was 18%, but from 2005 to 2012, the 5-year survival has doubled to 36%. This is largely due to early imaging and better treatment, both of which are under attack by the still pending Republican Repeal and Replace Health Uncoverage Act. I'm sorry I had to qualify the good news with alerts that we face on all of them, but it is the reality. On the other hand, we should pause here and celebrate the hundreds of thousands of activists, you, who have stalled that draconian bill yet again. We have to escalate the activism over the July 4th holiday weekend because old Mitch McConnell, the turtle, plans to offer recalcitrant Republicans lots of sweets when they come back in his obsession to pass the bill before the August recess. Time to brace ourselves for that new Supreme Court, and it's not good news. The court managed to confuse everyone by allowing a limited version of Trump's ban against travelers from 6 mostly Muslim countries if they lack a, quote, credible claim of a bona fide relationship with a person or entity in the United States, close quote. Nobody knows what that really means. The court agreed to hear the full case in October. Justices Thomas, Alito, and Gorsuch concurred in part, but they would have preferred the full ban to go into effect as written immediately. The Supremes also weighed in, wrongly, on an important church-state separation case, ruling 7-2 that Missouri could not deny Trinity Lutheran Church a state grant for an otherwise so-called neutral public benefit, resurfacing school playgrounds, quote, simply because of what it is, a church, close quote. Well, justices, duh. Yeah, that's what Madison, Jefferson, Washington, and Monroe bloody well intended. It's a church. Justice Sotomayor wrote an elegant, fiery dissent, with Justice Ginsburg reliably joining. But where was Elena Kagan? And where was Breyer? In the Please Perjure Yourself Before Congress department, Ryan Jackson, the Environmental Protection Agency's chief of staff, pressured the top scientist on the agency's scientific review board to alter her congressional testimony, as clearly shown by his emails. Deborah Swackhamer, an environmental chemist who leads the EPA's Board of Scientific Counselors, was to testify before the House Science Committee on the role of states in environmental policy when Jackson told her she must stick to the agency's talking points on the dismissals of several members of the scientific board. "I was stunned," said Dr. Swackhamer, a retired University of Minnesota professor. She went on to add, "I was factual, and he was not. I felt bullied." So she talked, but not with his talking points. A quick roundup of media stories, all of them ringing alarms, I'm afraid, that you may have missed. David Pecker, honest, I did not make up that name. David Pecker, a Trump friend, who else, for decades, and owner of the National Enquirer, who else, is said to be considering a bid to take over the financially struggling Time Inc. magazines. Maybe then Donald wouldn't have to print up fake issues of Time with him on the cover and exhibit them framed as fake copies at his golf courses. In closing, a real WTF. A new social media policy at the Washington Post prohibits conduct on social media that, quote, adversely affects the Post's customers, advertisers, subscribers, vendors, suppliers, or partners, close quote. In such cases, Post management reserves the right to take disciplinary action up to and including termination of employment. The policy also encourages snitching, quote, if you have any reason to believe that an employee may be in violation of the Post's social media policy, you should contact the Post's Human Resources Department, close quote. Now, quality newspapers in general do have standard policies. So do magazines, such as don't write or post anything that would embarrass the Los Angeles Times or compromise your ability to do your job. Or the New York Times guideline, which is remember that what you do is public and that your online behavior should be appropriate for a Times journalist. But neither policy mentions advertisers or consequences for people who stray from the rules. It's nervous-making to think that a journalist at the Washington Post cannot, for example, join in a boycott organized by Grab Your Wallet or Sleeping Giant and say so honestly on her own personal website, if that product might advertise in the Post. There's supposed to be a firewall between editorial and advertising departments in good journalism, a firewall that has a reason for being there. We're going to stay on this story and keep you posted. P.S. One more thing. As you well may have heard, BBC-trained Irish RTE correspondent Catriona Perry was in effect sexually harassed in the Oval Office by Trump, who said she'd go far with her beautiful smile. Being a professional, she toughed it out, but later posted online that it was, quote, bizarre. Even with her Irish up, the woman has a gift for understatement. On top of that, just now as we're closing this segment, news breaks about Trump's tweeted insults to Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, in particular personal insults to Mika Brzezinski. Trump is a truly despicable human being, and he seems to have a thing about women's bodily effluvia. It's time for a short break here at Women's Media Center Live. I'm Robin Morgan, and I'm very excited because in a moment when we return, we'll be speaking with the woman who turned an entire country, which she has named the Kingdom of Men, upside down because she insisted on being able to drive her own car. So don't go away.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
Welcome back. In 1990, a group of women in Saudi Arabia decided they would get in their cars and drive. It doesn't seem a shocking thing, perhaps to many in the West or the global North, but it, of course, is illegal in Saudi Arabia. They were arrested, they were harassed, they were imprisoned, they lost their jobs, they lost their travel papers, and basically they were forced out of society. Flash forward to 2011. A group of women decided in Saudi Arabia to get in their cars and drive. Chief among them was a young woman named Manal al-Sharif. She is a women's rights activist, and her friend, Wajeha al-Huwaider, a women's rights activist who had previously filmed herself driving, filmed Manal al-Sharif driving as part of the Women to Drive campaign. The video posted on YouTube and Facebook and went viral. Al-Sharif was detained and released on 21st of May and rearrested the following day. She spent 9 days in prison. At the time, she was a working, divorced mother. She was threatened. Imams wanted her to be publicly lashed. She was monitored and harassed, pushed out of her job, had to move from her home, and without a safe place to work or live, and with Saudis calling for her death, she had no choice but to leave the country that she had known and loved. Well, Manal al-Sharif has become an international hero. She now lives in exile, but she has continued her work even when she was still in Saudi Arabia, because when they released her the first time, they made her promise that she would not be an active critic of the government, that she would be quiet, not talk to the media, and return for questioning any time they asked. Instead, she tweeted on issues including imprisoned female foreign workers and the murder of Lama al-Ghamdi. Her work has been recognized by Foreign Policy, Time magazine, and the Oslo Freedom Forum. She has been named by Time one of the 100 most influential people of 2012. And she still is a young woman now living in exile in Australia, and she's written quite a book called Daring to Drive. And here is Manal al-Sharif. Manal, welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We should tell our listeners that Manal is sitting in Central Park, so you may hear a little hustle and bustle and birds, but rather than have her go back to her hotel room, she needs to be in the park. So we'll just indulge that and go from here. Thank you. Shukran etir, Manal, for being with us.
Shukran.
Well, I don't know where to start. For one thing, we have a beloved friend in common, Wajeha al-Huwaider, who was the woman who filmed you when you drove, and that of course went viral. Let me start on a purely personal note. How is she doing? Last I spoke to her, she was still under a travel ban. She could not leave the country.
She's still under travel ban. She was prosecuted for trying to help an abuse survivor.
I remember, yes.
And she was almost sent to jail for 6 months.
Yeah.
And then they shut her up. They said, you cannot talk to the media, you cannot leave the country. That's how we can drop the charges.
Yeah.
So they prosecuted her badly.
I know.
In Saudi Arabia. The problem is not with the government itself, because we're used to their harassment.
Yeah.
The problem is with the harassment from the people.
Yeah.
Work in the streets, and the ones who really don't know how hero she is. She's the first female activist in my country.
Yeah.
And she's been treated as a criminal.
Yeah.
From the society itself.
I know. She's done the program a number of times. I love her dearly, and she has more courage than can fit into one small woman's body. My God. Well,
exactly. She is my inspiration.
She's all the inspiration for all of us. Let's get back to you. You're pretty inspiring yourself, my dear Manal. Of course, we're talking about the Women to Drive campaign in Saudi Arabia. This is a fairly up-to-date audience that you're speaking to now, both in the United States and globally, of feminists and male allies and people who are interested in progressive change. So they know basically that women are not permitted to drive. They know about the guardianship system in Saudi Arabia, and everybody was aware of your campaign. And we were part of a global writing campaign to release you during wasn't it 9 days that you were in prison?
Yes. I'm very thankful for the media people. I'm very thankful for all the activists around the world, because finally they are acknowledging our struggle in Saudi Arabia. It's been very quiet and we've been ignored.
Yeah.
But finally they are acknowledging us. Putting us in jail is not a bad thing. is they are acknowledging our power. They're acknowledging that we're creating change and we're pushing for change.
Yes.
It's a good sign. It's not a bad sign for us.
I know it is. It's ironic, but it is a good sign. And it's also very different from years ago. Some of my other dearest Saudi friends were among the first set of women drivers in 1990. Aisha Almana.
Wow. You know the 47 women. Oh, my God.
Yes.
She's one of my amazing closest friends, and we keep in contact.
Yes.
Oh my God, you know Dr. Aisha Almana.
I know Aisha Almana, yes, since the 1980s, and also Madeha. They were an amazing group of women, and their lives were incredibly harassed and almost destroyed. But then it stopped. Then it stopped. So when you people began, everybody thought, "Aha, we knew it wasn't dead," and the younger women are now taking it up. And it makes such a difference. It makes a difference to women all over the world, because if you can change it there, it can be changed anywhere, you know.
It is. I always say the fight for women's rights anywhere in the world is the fight for women's rights everywhere in the world.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
You cannot separate it.
Yeah.
One country from the other.
Well, the book that you've written, Daring to Drive, A Saudi Woman's Awakening, is memorable. It's an extraordinary book. For it to come out of all that suffering in itself is a triumph. So congratulations.
Thank you. Oh, my God. Today is the release date, June 13th.
Yes. Well, congratulations.
Yes. It's 6 years work. It seems so short now that it is out. I'm looking for Barnes & Noble to buy the book, to go and cash it out, to feel like, oh, my God, it is in a bookshelf, in a bookstore.
It's real. It's real. I'm holding it. I know it. I've read it. It's both in hardcover and paperback, I think, or soon will be in paperback. And it's so well done. It's really, I congratulate you again. You also just, I think last week, wrote an op-ed piece for the New York Times about your two sons. Your two sons. It broke my heart. Tell that story.
So I have a son from previous marriage. He's turning 12 in October this year. When I remarried my second husband, the government, as a Saudi, men or women, you need approval from the Minister of Interior himself.
Yeah.
And they wanted to me for my activism. I know it's for my activism. I was denied the approval.
Yes.
We had a child, my second child, in 2014, and he still can't go with me back home to Saudi Arabia. I took my ex-husband to the court because they asked for the right to visit, that he can come and visit me where I used to live for 5 years. I lived in Dubai.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't bring my son and my husband to Saudi Arabia. That was the closest to my first son, Abdullah.
Right.
But I lost it. I lost it for a text. They use a text from 1,100 years at the time of caravans and camels, and they said he could. It's danger. The road to Dubai from the Dammam, which is 1 hour flight, is danger.
Yeah, the child could die en route. Yeah. Oh, how ridiculous.
Yes, I was like, this is a text from 1,100 years. This is one of the things we fight. We don't have family law in the courts. We in Saudi Arabia, we're one of the last countries in the world that doesn't have a constitution. We don't have written family laws, and it really depends on the judge and his best judgment that day.
Yes. Yeah.
To give the mother the right to visit or the custody of her own children, and this should stop. This is what prevents my two sons from being. It's all either lack of laws or unjust laws in my country.
Yeah. So they talk on Skype or Facebook or something, but they've never met the two kids.
No, Abdullah always asks me. He's mommy. Does Danny? His name is Daniel Hamza, and he's like, does Danny knows me? Does Danny know me? Does Danny know that he has a bigger brother? Will he speak Arabic? So it really breaks my heart that my two sons never met. And Daniel is turning 3 in July 23rd. And now I moved. My husband worked. They moved him to Sydney, so we're in Sydney now. Which is farther. It's like 14 hours flight. No, 15 hours flight from Sydney to Dubai, and then I take a transit, and then I take another flight. So the total travel time for me now will be from 17 to 19 hours to see my son.
Oh my God, this is so sadistic.
And the worst part, he doesn't live with his father, so he lives with his grandmother.
Yeah, your ex-husband remarried, and he doesn't even have his son living with him. In other words, it's not as though he wants him; he just wants to keep you from having him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They came to Dubai, and I found out they visited Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
And I begged him. I begged that I can come and see them. I bring my son, my other son. I begged. I cried. They totally ignored me. They said he disconnected his phone, so I don't talk to my son. We were so close. We didn't know which hotel he was. I just wanted him to meet his brother. So this this wrongdoing to the mother of your child is very outrageous. And if we don't have laws that protect the right of the children and their mom, these terrible things happen. And this is just one story of millions of stories of my girlfriends. When I hear it, I just stop listening to how they were separated from their children. I have a lot of Saudi women reaching out to me now, which is amazing. When I wrote the book, I really wanted to give hope.
It does.
To the women of my country. And I wanted them to speak up for themselves. And I'm amazed by the number of women are reaching out to me before even reading the book, just hearing about the book and telling me their stories. A lot of them left Saudi Arabia and they're living here and they're applying for asylum. They're applying for the green card and they would not go back. And I feel like how terrible it is that you cannot feel safe in your own home country.
Yes, it is. It is.
Because there are no laws that protect you.
One thing I wanted to ask you, because I don't think anyone else will ask you this on the book tour. Your family was moderate in their faith system, their belief system, and then at a certain point, when you were very young woman, you became very, very observant, super conservative, etc.
Radical Muslim.
Radical Muslim. Burned your brother's cassette tapes because music was haram, forbidden. And then of course, when you went to school and education began to make its way in, that began to change you. But it's so interesting because this is the third or fourth case I've heard of a Muslim woman feminist activist who went through a period of extreme radical Islamism first, and I'm interested in the process. Do you think there's something self-assertive in that process that then eventually leads to real self-assertion, or how do you notice that shift happening?
I think the pain you go through, that no matter what you do, you're not good enough. No matter what the rules you follow, you're not good enough. You're trying to make them happy, so happy. But the more you make them happy, you become miserable. And you always question yourself, why I have to go through so much pain to go to heaven? Why heaven is so difficult? And I always questioned all the rules that were imposed on us, like simple things, riding a bike with my brother or talking to my cousins that I don't know how they even look like today because we were separated from them at the age of 12 when I got my period. Actually, I got my period. Anyway, when I was in middle school, I was separated from my best friends. They were boys. I used to play football with them.
Yeah.
So all these things made me question why it's so difficult to be devout. Why it's so difficult to be a Muslim? Mm-hmm. It can be. And I questioned the rules that were imposed on us. Things like the color of your dress, or you cannot pluck your eyebrow hairs. You will be banished from God's mercy for eternity. Yeah. For blocking my eyebrows, I questioned it so much, and it didn't sound right to me. Yeah. Why God would banish me from His heaven?
Why God would care? Why God would care about the shape of your eyebrows when
how my eyebrows look like?
There are more important things.
How God cares? Yes, I'm honest. I'm good to people around me. Why God should care about these things? So these questions really made me, and the pain I went through with not only with myself. I talked about my radical period. The pain I went through with my family because they tried to impose that, because I was trying to save them from hellfire. I love mom and dad. I love my brother and sister, and I was seeing sinners living with me in the house, and we are all going to be doomed.
Right.
So they teach you how to change that, and when you get interfered with other people, you create so much conflict. My brother was kicked out of the house because they showed a photo of a singer, a Lebanese singer. He kept in his wallet to that. So when you go through this pain with the people you really love the most, you really question, and then it hits you when you find they've been lying to us, they've been using Islam and this radical, ultra-conservative interpretation of the text to control people.
Yes.
They use it in a political way to gain power.
Yes.
That made me enraged.
Yes.
That made me so mad.
Yes.
Because I was not obeying men. I was obeying God.
Yeah. But men often confuse themselves with God. I'm sure you've noticed.
Exactly.
Yeah. What do you think is the
It's a mean world.
Yeah. What do you think is the future of the Saudi women's movement? Because there is one, there has always been one, semi-underground, and because of you and Wajeha and so many other remarkable younger women, it's surfacing again. I know it can't be stopped, but what do you think in the near future about the possibilities?
I'm very hopeful. So my generation, we were taught to be obedient. Mm-hmm. So whoever breaks the rules are the rebels, are the troublemakers, are ostracized. But the millennials, the generation that's born in the 90s, who are internet natives, who grow up with the social media, those are the girls who are creating the difference in Saudi Arabia today. They're so fearless. Yes. They're so courageous. They have no problem to be put in jail, right, just not to shut me up. And I'm like, oh my God, I found my allies, finally.
Yes.
Because my generation were very careful not to upset the family, not to upset the authorities, right, to be very peaceful. And I'm like, I will respect laws that respect me, that respect me. If the laws don't respect me, I don't respect them.
Yes.
And I will challenge them. And the 90s, this generation is so remarkable. I have huge hope today that I can speak up. More women are coming out. More women are speaking up, telling their personal story, because our personal story matters. Yes. And we need to know that.
I am so personally grateful to you for being with us and for this book, Daring to Drive, A Saudi Woman's Awakening, Manal al-Sharif. You come to us at a very bizarre time, but I know, but I think you'll see that we're fighting, in effect, the same thing in a different form, and we are fighting it, and we are using the tools of democracy to fight it, and we will bring this regime here down and change it into something that the founders envisioned and that is actual democracy. So
I think Trump in the power is your moment of truth.
Yes, fighting power is precisely that, and I think and women are at the forefront of it because we're the half of humanity that hasn't been heard from yet. And by God, they're hearing from us now.
All these girls who are reaching me out, I'm writing their stories now. Oh, it will be their stories.
That's brilliant.
The next book.
It's a Sisterhood is Global Islamic style. That's fantastic.
It is.
Okay,
thank you so much.
Bahibik ya ukhti and shukran.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you so much.
It means I love you, my sister. I speak it not with not with a Saudi accent, but a Palestinian accent, because that's where I learned it. But I do love you, my sister. Thank you again.
Love you too.
And now it's time for the Surrealism Corner. After the hung jury verdict in Bill Cosby's trial on sexual assault charges, before what will very likely be a retrial, and while Cosby is still battling civil suits from numerous other women who say he assaulted them too, in this lull between the storms, you probably have heard that Bill Cosby now plans a series of what he's calling town hall meetings. This is going to happen during the summer, supposedly, with the purpose of educating young male athletes and married men on how to avoid accusations of sexual assault. Not how to avoid sexually assaulting somebody, you understand. A Cosby spokesman said that young athletes especially, they need to know what they're facing when they hang out in their party. Another spokesperson for Cosby said, quote, "People need to be educated on a brush against the shoulder. Anything at this point can be considered sexual assault," close quote. Well, television writer and producer Shonda Rhimes tweeted in response, "From Shonda's town hall on avoiding sexual assault charges. 1. Do not sexually assault anyone. 2. Shut up. This attention belongs to survivors. Close quote. Cosby stands accused of drugging and raping 60, that's 60, different women. But in the Trump-Cosby era, apparently claiming that you are innocent when numbers and evidence point to your guilt, that's not sufficient. You have to claim you're the real victim. Now, you might have expected that after the attempted massacre of Republican lawmakers while they were playing baseball, they might just rethink their position on gun laws. Well, that would be logical, but silly of you. On the contrary, they've made it quite clear that they want looser gun laws, not stricter ones. In other words, if each of the Republicans on the baseball diamond had only been packing lead, they could have turned batting practice into the shootout at OK Corral. Oh, and they also demanded raising congressional members' security budgets by as much as $25,000 apiece, which is an option that the average citizen alarmed by the proliferation of guns in our country does not have. Speaker of the House Paul Ryan thought this was a great idea because it will enable lawmakers to hire personal protection in districts where local police are not able to provide round-the-clock security. The funds could also be used to help members pay for alarms in their homes. Presumably all this would be available to Democrats as well, although Democrats were not in the GOP-only meeting where this was discussed and decided. Nor did Democrats raise such issues after Representative Gabby Giffords was shot in the face. In fact, the tone among even the most ardent proponents of stricter gun laws was quite subdued in the days following the shooting because Democratic lawmakers stated this was not the time to revive the gun control debate. It hit too close to home, and Democrats didn't want to stand accused of politicizing a shooting that injured a colleague. You know what? All this taking of the high road is giving me a nosebleed. If a bill being considered now by the Philippine Senate is approved and signed into law, failure to sing the national anthem with sufficient zeal will be punishable by up to a year in prison and a fine of 50,000 to 100,000 pesos, or about $1,000 to $2,000. A second offense would include both a fine and prison time. Where was I going to put that except the surrealism corner? And here's an item with a happy ending, although it's surreal that this had to be a thing in the first place. A Jerusalem court has ruled that employees of El Al, the Israeli airline, cannot ask women to change seats to spare a man from having to sit next to them. Strictly religious Jewish men who refuse to sit next to women for fear of even inadvertent contact that could be, considered immodest because women are Jezebels. This is a growing phenomenon that's been causing disruptions and flight delays around the world and prompted protests and social media campaigns. The pressure to switch seats can be acute on El Al, and the issue has become symbolic of a broader battle in Israel over religion and gender in public spaces. In this case, the plaintiff, Renee Rabinowitz, who's now 83 years old, boarded an El Al flight for Tel Aviv from Newark in 2015, and she just settled into her business class aisle seat when the passenger with the window seat showed up. An Orthodox man who complained about sitting next to a woman. A flight attendant asked her to change seats to accommodate him, and after a lot of pressure from the flight crew, she gave in very reluctantly. But then she damn well sued. Ms. Rabinowitz, who escaped the Nazis in Europe as a child, said that she was, quote, exhilarated by the groundbreaking verdict. In his style of talking even when no one, including himself, knows what he means, well, Trump said at a meeting with Republican senators about their now delayed, yet again, health care bill, quote, this will be great if we get it done, and if we don't get it done, it's just going to be something that we're not going to like. And that's okay, and I understand that very well. Close quote. Listen, we need to give him more stuff he's not going to like, because he understands that very well. Last, in the ongoing drive by authoritarian Turkish President Erdogan to desecularize modern Turkey and obliterate the legacy of its secular founder, Ataturk, Erdogan has now defined the subject of evolution as, quote, debatable, controversial, and too complicated for students, close quote, and he has banned the teaching of evolution in Turkish schools and the mention of it in textbooks. Surreal, surreal, surreal. We need to pause again briefly here at Women's Media Center Live. I'm Robin Morgan, but I'll be back in just a moment with a woman who got sick and tired of her little daughter being told by literature and movies and everything else to be a little princess, and she wanted her daughter to be the human being her daughter was and decided to do something about it. That's coming right up.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
And we're back again. My next guest is Erin Bried, and she is the founder of a brand new Brooklyn-based quarterly print magazine for little girls ages 5 to 10. It's called Kazoo, a magazine for girls who aren't afraid to make some noise. And it's just terrific. Here to tell us all about it is Erin Bried. Erin, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you so much for Kazoo. I wish my kid were younger, only so that I could, see the delight on a kid's face when they encounter Kazoo. I mean, because boys, I might add, as well as little girls, but primarily little girls who need this like oxygen. Kazoo, a magazine for girls who aren't afraid to make some noise. I love it. I love it. And listen, you were the only kids magazine to be named a finalist for a 2017 National Magazine Award for General Excellence. I mean, and it's new, isn't it?
Yeah, that being nominated for a National Magazine Award in General Excellence was pretty thrilling. It was our first year of eligibility, and we got up there, so it was really exciting. Yeah, we're working on our 6th issue now. It comes out this fall. So we're still getting our legs. It still feels pretty new.
Tell us how it got started, how you started it.
So last year, a little over a year ago, I went to the bookstore with my 5-year-old daughter, Ellie, and we picked up some books. We stopped by the newsstand on our way out, and I was looking for a magazine to get for her. And I was faced on that day with a wall of titles with princesses on the cover, dolls, and little girls wearing makeup with stories, for 8-year-old girls about finding confidence in your bathing suit and getting pretty hair. And we left empty-handed that day. Ellie was just completely bored with it, and I just had this slow burn. I kept thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking, is this honestly all we can give to our daughters? Is this really the best we can do and the only thing we can show them to strive for and the only way to be? So it was in the back of my mind, and I'm a magazine editor. I've spent my career working at Condé Nast. And I was thinking, somebody should really do something about this. And then it dawned on me that, why not me? Maybe that somebody should be me. This is what I do.
Yeah.
And I see this need. I have this passion for it. And so last April, we launched a Kickstarter for it. And I did it that way because I wanted to make sure there was a strong enough and large enough audience to actually make a print magazine in 2016, actually work. And I'm happy to report that after 30 days on Kickstarter, we closed as the highest funded journalism campaign in crowdfunding history. We raised $171,000 in 1 month.
Congratulations. Isn't that pretty?
Thank you.
It also shows the thirst for it, the hunger.
Yes. I mean, they're truly, it's insane to me that in 2017, it is still radical to have a magazine that shows girls that they can be scientists, artists, engineers, chefs, athletes. anything.
And you know, Erin, it's not as though we haven't been trying. I mean, for 40 years of this contemporary wave, you know, we've been saying this. We've been saying you have to, you know, you can't, it's very, very difficult to be it if you haven't seen it somewhere, if it isn't modeled for you.
Exactly.
When my kid was little, I could not find anything that didn't steer him toward trucks and manliness and G.I. Joes and, you know, and stories similar to that. So I wrote him a children's book. I wrote the Mer Child for him when he was 8. But everybody can't do that. I mean, and it's a really shocking thing that clamps down on girls as a form of propaganda. I was reading that 6 in 10 girls stop doing what they love because they feel bad about their looks. By age 11, almost a third have already been on a diet, put themselves on a diet. 75% are interested in engineering and related STEM fields, but only 11% of actual practicing engineers are women. And, you know, recently we had a medical expert on children on the show, and she was saying that there's a bump up in statistics. This blew my mind, that little girls on reaching puberty or even before 10, 11, 12, there's an uptick in the little girls and their parents asking for genital shaving and even genital plastic surgery. I mean,
my goodness.
This makes me crazy, you know. But you've done something about it. I mean, and the people that you have writing for it, how did you manage that? It's a stunning list.
Yeah, and this is what really sets Kazoo apart. So every story in the magazine is either developed or inspired by top women in their field. So we've had Margaret Atwood on writing. We've had Alison Bechdel on how to draw a cat, Shonda Rhimes, Jane Goodall, architect Zena Howard, who was the project manager on the National Museum of African American History and Culture. She designed a custom fort using hula hoops and gave us blueprints so that our readers
This is so great.
could build it. So, and what's amazing is that just about every expert I've reached out to, and to whom I've explained what Kazoo is about and what our mission is,
Right.
they said, what do you need from me? What can I do? How can I be a part of that? And it's been very thrilling because in Kazoo's pages, it's just matter of fact that girls can be anything they want. I mean, our readers are ages 5 to 10. So they already know this. I mean, to tell them at age 5 that you can be anything you want, you can overcome anything you want, they're like, what are you talking about? Of course that's true. It's not until they get older and they reach, you know, the early teen years.
Yeah, the Carol, what I call the Carol Gilligan research that it's right around the teen years when
exactly.
Up to that time, the little girl has stood there with her feet firmly planted and her hands on her hips and says, you know, you're not the boss of me.
Exactly.
And then suddenly she starts saying, well, I could be wrong, but, well, I don't really know what I'm talking about here, but how about, I mean, every sentence begins to be prefaced with self-doubt. Yeah.
So in Kazoo, we want to reinforce that confidence that they already feel. We want to reinforce in them that they can be loud and messy and inquisitive, all of these things that they take for granted, so that by the time they do reach their tween years and teen years, if someone questions them, they will not internalize it, but, you know, say, what are you talking about? I already know this. I've been reading Kazoo for 5 years. I've seen that I can be anything I want to be.
Yes.
You can't tell me to be quiet or doubt myself. I got this.
Yes. And they've heard from people who, who they see out in the world, Senator Duckworth and Hillary herself and Dolly Parton and Misty Copeland, the ballerina. These are incredible names that you get writing for you and the scientists and this is a great magazine for adults as well.
I've actually heard that from several adults. They're like, I don't have any kids, but I'm subscribing for myself.
And you know, absolutely. Alison Bechdel. Like, I'm looking at this list and I'm thinking, wow. Annie DeFranco, you know, because it's and obviously this is as I said earlier, this is like oxygen for little girls and for the parents of little girls who understand that little girls are human beings and want them to continue to be so and not turn into princesses. But being the mother of a son, listeners, if you have or know little boys as well, for them to subscribe. Or give them a gift subscription, because that's the other half of this. I mean, they have to grow up knowing girls can be all these things, or else they'll turn into, God forbid, Donald Trump. And
No.
well, yeah,
We can't take one more of him.
No, we couldn't even take the one, but and we're getting rid of him as fast as we can. But but this is just a wonderful contribution to feminism. I mean, and that you've done it knowing what you're doing and in such a high quality professional way. I have one copy and it's absolutely beautiful, but I am going to subscribe because it's just a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing to give. It's a wonderful thing to have. And there've been attempts at this, over the last 40 years, but they've been sort of mimeographed together. In the old days, mimeographed or Xeroxed and stapled together. And this is a beautiful magazine. How can I thank you enough? Give all the information for how people can find you and subscribe.
You can find us at kazoomagazine.com, and you can subscribe there too. And Robin, I really appreciate it. I appreciate you for laying the groundwork for us, and it's been a real thrill to be on your show.
Time for one last break here at Women's Media Center Live. I'm Robin Morgan, and I'll be back in just a moment with some fighting words.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
And welcome back again to some fighting words. The personal is political. Well, I admit it was a good phrase years ago, challenging the notion that feminism was just personal stuff. It's still a good phrase, with ever-widening applications. So this fighting words is personal, in the most political sense. I've long thought that each of us should defend the rights of all of us, because you never know when you might become part of an oppressed group. I fought for child care before I had a child, though it was only then I realized just how crucial this issue was. I worked for lesbian and bisexual rights long before I found myself in love with a woman. I've joked that given my work in the global women's movement, one of these days I'll wake up wading through a rice paddy in Southeast Asia. While that has not happened yet, I did work for the rights of the disabled decades before I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease 7 years ago. Finding oneself actually inside the oppression is always quite a radicalizing experience. Regular listeners to this program know that now and then I report on my own condition and the work we've been able to do with the Parkinson's Disease Foundation to help put women on the map of Parkinson's research. Basically, I've been lucky, since PD, while incurable and progressive, is slow-moving in my case and so far has not greatly affected my quality of life. The medications have been working, and I'm as busy or busier than ever. More importantly, PD has raised my consciousness about what it must mean to be seriously disabled. This past week witnessed the American spirit at its basest and at its finest. Its basest because of the blatantly cruel attempt to destroy what health care Americans do have, which compares dismally to that of other industrialized nations. But at its finest, because this time protesters were from the disabled community. They were chanting, "Don't kill me, I don't want to die," in the corridors on every floor of the Russell Senate building in Washington and at the home state Senate offices of every Republican senator supporting or considering support of this bill. In Washington, one young woman in a wheelchair shouted that she was from the Ozark, Arkansas Indivisible group, as cops wheeled her away in handcuffs. Like what? She was going to attack them? Or run? These protesters came in wheelchairs and on crutches and walkers and canes and even stretchers, as if in a procession to Lourdes. But they weren't praying or pleading. They were righteously demanding citizens in all their dignity. They slid down from or were helped out of their wheelchairs and lay on the floor outside Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's office. At the Russell Building, 28 female and 15 male protesters were arrested, roughly carted off by police officers, handling fragile bodies in ways ignorant of or indifferent to the damage they might be doing. And this newfound consciousness broke like a great wave against my heart, a wave of light crammed with inescapable detail about what it took for even one such protester to be there. Because in the world of the disabled, each button is provocative, each sleeve a challenge, each pant leg a process of weight-shifting, pain, and effort. To bathe, to dress, to move, however haltingly or smoothly, on foot or by wheels, is an issue. For individuals whose lives literally depend on caregivers and body assistance, for those on ventilators, the trip from, say, the Ozarks to the Senate would have been an exercise planned to the finest detail. Each car or ambulette pickup, each curb to be navigated, the financial cost and the physical capacity to endure a train or plane trip, each visit to a restroom or a coffee shop, going long ways round to access ramps at government buildings or elevators instead of imposing stairs, the effects of weather, factoring in the extra time everything takes, the chronic hurting, the exhaustion, the determination. Protesters carried signs reading, "Health care is a human right." Mike Phillips became an internet and TV star overnight. He wasn't at the Senate, but he was a guest with Ari Melber on Lawrence O'Donnell's The Last Word MSNBC program. Mike, age 30, is locked in with spinal muscular atrophy, yet he delivered a ringing message through a voice machine that he operates by eye movements. It was viewed by more than 1 million people within the first 24 hours. Witty, ironic, utterly unsentimental, Phillips and his mother spoke about what would happen to him, to them, without coverage. Mike referred to his own, quote, really, really, really unusual, totally usual life, close quote. Precisely. Really, really unusual. No automatic pilot, damned little multitasking, continual mindfulness, relentless attention. Truly usual? Well, eventually, everyone will join the disabled community if they're lucky to live long enough. Senator Mazie Hirono of Alaska, who's been a guest on this program, eloquently led the latest all-night session of Democrats, holding the Senate floor by speaking in opposition to the bill. Then she left to have an operation removing a cancerous tumor. This was personal to her, as it should be to everyone. So I will tell you that even as a newcomer to a community that some people were born into and where others have resided, including dear friends, for most of their lives, I will tell you that when I saw my sisters and, yes, brothers, being dragged off by cops, separated from their wheelchairs and caregivers, but still singing America the Beautiful, I will tell you that knowing jails as I do, and knowing that the Americans with Disabilities Act doesn't penetrate jails, I will tell you that the flashed V signs and the faces lined with pain and weariness, but radiant with crooked smiles, I will tell you that the indomitable spirit of this particular protest group has moved me as no other in a lifetime of activism. These protesters share the fear, anger, hope, and determination of all demonstrators protesting the current regime and the dominant political party who seem to compete for heartlessness. Except for this protest group, everything's harder, costs more effort, funds, time, forethought, hurt, risk. I'd be the last person to say, Hallmark card style, that this disease is the best thing that ever happened to me. It is so not the best thing that ever happened to me. But finding myself part of this community, which by its existence testifies to the importance of science and to the indestructibility of the human spirit, to find myself in any small way a part of that, is an honor I am only now beginning to appreciate. Those are my fighting words. Add yours on Twitter, and be sure to tag us at WMC Live and use the hashtag Fighting Words. And that's it for today. This program is syndicated, but if you can't find the broadcast on a radio station in your area, you can always visit us at WMClive.com for the show, plus the archive of all our previous episodes, and at iTunes Worldwide, where you can stream, download, and subscribe to our show's podcast. Also, be sure to find WMC Live on Facebook and Twitter. And you can check out my own website and blog at robinmorgan.net and find me on Facebook and Twitter, too. Portions of this program were taped earlier. Opinions expressed here do not necessarily represent the WMC. Here's the family for Women's Media Center Live. WMC President and Executive Producer of this program, Julie Burton, and our founding and sustaining sponsor, Regina K. Scully. I'm Robin Morgan, your producer and host. Thank you for being with us, and don't forget to join us next week right here on Women's Media Center Live.
For the smartest talk about news, politics, sex, books, religion, race, and more, tune your radio to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan. Audacious, witty, provocative, informative, and fun. It's Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan on WMCLive.com. Talk radio with a brain.